Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. In today's episode, I am delighted to be joined by Hannah and Nicole of Showing Up Solo. Hannah and Nicole are mompreneurs, marketing mavens, and hosts of the amazing Showing Up Solo podcast. We actually did this particular episode as a bit of a tandem. We did an episode where they interviewed me for their podcast, which is also being released on the same day that this episode is coming out, where I interviewed them for my podcast. It was great to be able to have the opportunity to do a podcast swap with them. Hannah and Nicole both started their businesses mid-pandemic and had to learn how to build a client list from zero and fast. After lots of Googling, watching videos, taking courses, and plenty of trial and error, they got so good at their marketing that other solopreneurs started asking for their help. The more clients they helped, the more they saw a pattern. The same things were missing from their marketing plans, the same struggles were being faced, and the same simple solutions were solving everyone's problems. Enough, they said. They needed to create a one-stop solution for any small business owner who wanted to streamline their marketing strategy, save time each month, and grow their business online. And so Showing Up Solo was born, a series filled with everything that they wished that they had known when they had first started out as service providers. This is a great episode where we are going to deep dive into launching an online course and running a successful launch for your online course as well. It's a great episode packed full of loads of actionable tips, so let's dive in. Hey there, I'm Verity Songon and this is the Confident CEO podcast, the show that takes you behind the scenes of starting and running your small or not so small business. We will cut through the misinformation and bad advice about starting and running a business and give you actionable tips and advice that you can implement to grow, scale, and achieve your business goals. Let's dive in. I am so excited to have Nicole and Hannah from Showing Up Solo in this episode today. So, hi guys, welcome to the podcast. We have got some really exciting stuff that we are going to be talking about. We've talked about marketing before on the podcast, but one topic that we've never covered properly is actually launching your course and how you can go about launching your course. So I'm so excited to have Hannah and Nicole on because I know that this is completely your guys' speciality. So before we jump into all of that goodness, please, I'm going to hand over to you guys. Tell us who you are and what it is that you do.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, thanks for having us. Well, I'm Hannah, and along with Nicole, we're the hosts of Showing Up Solo. We also offer packages for clients that help them with marketing, whether it's setting them up from scratch or one of our most popular ones, our Launchpad package, which is all about helping you launch. And very popular, people want help with launching their courses. So we use our marketing, copywriting, design, and education backgrounds to help people put together an effective marketing plan and launch strategy for their courses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Hannah and I actually worked, we kind of were separate of each other, and then through a very amazing mutual friend, she connected us and we realized how well we worked together. And then as, you know, I actually worked for Hannah. And then as we kind of realized how well we work together, we just started kind of brainstorming of like seeing the typical trends of our clients and how we wanted to like really service them. And that's kind of how we came up with like the packages that we do, so that the setup for success and the launch pad.
And actually, it was a client with a course who needed help launching a course that kind of inspired a lot of our packages, wasn't it, Nicole?
Yeah.
We had a client who had been working really hard behind the scenes, like creating a course, but she was really stuck when it came to the launch, to how to do it, how to set up the email systems, the sales pages, what copy to put in there, how to promote it on social media. And we were brought in very close to the actual launch. I think it was only like a month before the date, and we had to very quickly get it all set up, and that's what inspired basically these services that we now provide, which is getting people either in a position where most of that work's done way ahead of time by being set up properly, or by delivering the whole suite of launch content. So yeah, this is definitely a subject that we're big fans of.
I love that. And before we jump into all of that, when you say that you're like not together, you're not in the same state, you're not even in the same country, are you?
We're in the
right?
same country.
You are in
We're
the same country.
We're both in Canada. We're in different provinces. So
Okay,
there's
that's
an
where I
hour
got confused.
time difference between us. We've actually physically been in the same space as each other twice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've met in person twice so far.
I love that.
Which is crazy because it's for about a year and a half now we've been working together. Nicole, I originally brought her on as a contractor to help, as my VA to help me with my workload, but she's just so amazing that it started to become less of a help and more of a 50-50 partnership. And so we just decided to keep doing more of the same and working together in this partnership.
I love that so much. That really is like an adage to the power of the internet in recent years, really. Right. So launches of online courses. The first thing that I want to ask you, we hear a lot about live launches and about evergreen launches. Are you able to just define for us before we get started, what is a live launch? What is an evergreen launch? And is there one that's better than the other?
That's a great question. So the difference between a live launch and an evergreen is live essentially can happen live, but there's it can be dated, it can be connected to a time and place. Someone might be more
cohort or around
yeah.
There's a specific date that the card is open and the card is closed, and a certain set of dates that people can take the course before it's unavailable again.
Someone might be more present online. They might be talking more about in September, this is when I'm launching. Whereas with Evergreen, essentially the content, the copywriting is all created so that you can just grab and go. And then it just stays open. Someone can purchase the course and use it at any time. And it can be reused. It's not like you have to go in and fix everything. It's essentially meant so that it's less time on you throughout every launch.
Yeah, there's pros and cons to both. For example, an evergreen course, self-paced courses are ideal for an evergreen launch, which is basically purchases it, and then they just go through it at their own pace, and then they're done. So in terms of input from you, the course creator, there's very little. You create it and then you just set up your marketing and you have it going on autopilot. You still have to continually remind people that the product is there, but it's integrated into more of your regular marketing plan. Whereas with a live launch, which is really great it can work for self-paced courses. It can also work really well if there's a live component, say weekly calls or coaching sessions attached.
Facebook groups.
Exactly. And so with a live launch, there's a couple ways to do it, but essentially you say, okay, you can sign up for this course between these specific dates. And then after that, the doors are shut until this cohort is over and I decide to launch it another time. And some course creators will launch their course 3 times a year, 4 times a year. So with the live launch, the benefit is that you can build a lot of hype and maybe get a large sign up, depending on how you decide to do your live launch. But energy wise, launching can be very exhausting. So you also have to factor in that you're going to be very busy launching this every time you want to launch it. Whereas evergreen, a lot of the work, you do the work once essentially, and then it's mostly maintenance, but you're going to have maybe you're not going to have as big a influx new students because it's kind of always going. There's no scarcity or pressure to sign up right away because it's always available.
Yeah. So I was thinking one really big account that I know of that has more of an evergreen launch. They are a family and child kind of education group. They're called Big Little Feelings. And so they have an evergreen style launch. So you can buy their course at any time and they're just constantly just sharing the link to it. Whereas a live launch like Amy Porterfield, where you have to get on a wait list, where you have to wait so many times a year. So those are kind of two differences. And someone who might do a live launch, maybe like for an example, they are some kind of like fitness or yoga instructor, and they want to do some kind of example of like the types of learnings they're going to give their students. So they might offer a master class. So there's like a 3-day masterclass where people sign up, they get to do a Zoom call, and maybe they're doing the workout together. So that essentially is like their freebie or lead magnet into their launch, right? So whereas other people might just have like a downloadable infographic or something like that. So it's just really essentially the type of course you're providing and the type of launch you want.
Yeah, we do often recommend with clients that the very first time a course comes out to do a live launch, just to build up some awareness about the product, because if you start immediately in an evergreen launch, people can feel like their course isn't succeeding because it takes time to build up awareness, and especially with something like an evergreen where there's no scarcity or time limit. It'll take time to fill up to sell a lot of those courses. So a live launch is a great way to just initially drive up some hype, and then there's no reason why you can't convert it into an evergreen marketing style following your live launch.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. There's something I want to pick up on that you said there, which I think is really interesting. You were saying about how you can do a live launch. And yes, we often hear about these live launches that have like, 4, 5, even 6-figure, income straight away in revenues. But it's interesting because I also want to couple with what you said about how there is a huge amount of work that needs to go into the build up to that live launch, because I think sometimes we end up with that kind of shiny object syndrome, don't we? We see on Instagram or Pinterest or whichever social media that we're on, like, oh wow, that person, they did a 5-figure launch. How did they do that? And I think sometimes we end up thinking to ourselves that all they did was post one link, and then within 24 hours they had, goodness knows how much money sitting in their bank account. But actually the reality is there was a whole social media strategy behind that. Like you said, there was an entire launch strategy. There was so many hours and hours and hours of work. There was probably not only them, there was probably people like you guys who were, behind the scenes that you don't necessarily, well, you definitely don't from that one Instagram post, you don't see all of the people and all of the hours that went into that launch. And I think that is so, so important to remember. So let's delve into that a little bit more. You were saying that either type of launch, there is so much work that needs to go into launching an online course. And I'd love to hear from you guys, what does an online course launch look like? Because I think a lot of people think that I'm going to go on social media, I'm going to post the link to it a couple of times, and bada bing, bada boom, it's going to start selling itself. But you guys know that that's not the reality. So I'd love to hear more about that from you.
Yeah, well, it's funny because, and this is a conversation we repeatedly have with clients, because a lot of people think the cart open week is the launch, but it actually starts weeks before that. There's a good month ahead of even opening the cart where you're audience building. You have to have an audience to sell to. So you can't just turn up and say, hi, I have this course. You have to start to build an audience, get an email list, get connections and people interested and listening to you before you even start to sell them your product. And then you start to get them on your sales funnel. So you want to take people from social media and get them onto your email list. Because on social media, only about 4%, I think that number's changed a little bit since I last heard about it, like a small percentage of your audience sees your content. Email marketing, it's 25 to 30%. So that's already a lot larger. And when people are brand new subscribers to your email list, it's closer to 90%. So you really want to get people on your email list and then give them enough time to go through typically a 6 email sequence. If you send those one day after another, you still need a full week before they're going to be ready to purchase. So you have to factor all of that in. a launch is typically about 6 weeks, wouldn't you say, Nicole?
Yeah, I would say 6 weeks in terms of like building your audience and to even piggyback off of your comment of social media to email marketing. I really like to think of social media as like that brand awareness, like you're showing someone who you are. It might be the face value of you, but the email marketing is really like getting to know who you are and building that trust factor with people. It's that opportunity for you to really show people, you know who they are, you know their pain points. And so this is the product that will solve those issues for them. Whereas like social media, it's like Hannah said, not everybody sees your post. And I would even say it's less than 4% with the new algorithm, because everything is on my Instagram is not who I like following right now.
Yeah.
So getting people to download that freebie of yours, that already shows that they're interested in what you have to say. And then that just like puts them into the sales funnel, like Hannah said, and building that trust, that rapport. The more trust people have in you, the higher chance you have of them making a sale.
And to touch on that lead magnet, that freebie. So it could be something as simple as a workbook or a PDF or a checklist. Or with a live launch, you might want to do a masterclass or a 2 or 3 day challenge. Mm-hmm. And the real point of those is to give people a taste of what they're going to get inside the course. And it's really important that whatever you pick as your top of your funnels, your free resources, your way of collecting email addresses, whether it's a PDF, a webinar, a challenge, is that it is the logical next step is your course. You've got your consumer, the next step they take is whatever you're offering as your freebie, and the logical next step is taking your course. And you take them through that journey then, and you collect those email addresses, you walk them through the journey, show them this is like step A and here's step B through your email sequences.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a really interesting point about what you were saying, is that there's got to be a logic and a follow on. And the reason that I say that is, I'm sure you've signed up to newsletters or whatever before. You're on a website, you get an opt-in, you think, yeah, this checklist is really, really going to help me. And then you're maybe like a week or a few days later, however their sequence works, you're being sold something. You're like, this has got nothing to do with why I came to your website. Like, I came to your website for a podcasting checklist, for example, and all of a sudden you're trying to sell me something about making YouTube videos. Well, I'm clearly not doing, both of them at the same time. So it's interesting that you said that there has to be a logical step, because I think there's a lot of information out there about ideas for freebies and how to create a freebie, but I don't think there's necessarily enough information as to how that freebie then funnels people through to the actual end product, which is your course. Because at the end of the day, it's your course that's going to make you the money, and it's your course that you want to be driving people towards. And I also love what you were saying as well about making sure that you are keeping on top of contacting people, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure there's a statistic somewhere where people need to have at least 6 or 7 contacts with you before they're ready to purchase from you.
I think it's closer to like 11 touch points now.
Wow.
Before someone's willing.
We're not very trustworthy people, aren't we?
I mean, because of all this, the oversaturation of online marketing, because of all the touch points that are out there, it keeps increasing. So you have to give people lots of time to get to know you.
Yeah. And I guess that's where you were saying as well about having a good 6 weeks, because if you go and launch a week beforehand, if people only see less than 4% of your posts or what have you, it's potentially that your audience is there, but because of the algorithm or whatever it is, the time of day that they're looking at your content, whatever it is, it's potential that you've given them the opportunity for 11 touch points, but actually they've only seen 1 or none.
Yeah. And I really want to emphasize the importance of using social proof as well. It's something that we talk about with our clients all the time, but it's something that people forget. I don't know. It's like we don't put a lot of emphasis in like getting proof from other people of like why we're amazing, or the services that we do. It's like we feel icky about asking, but the fact is when you're trying to sell something that you think will help someone, they want to see that like other people had a great experience working with you or the product or service that you're selling. So, you know, before you even start a course or launch a course, start asking for testimonials, even if it's like written or it's a video or it's anything. Like those proof of people's experiences are so important in a launch.
And that's where something like a beta launch can come
Yeah.
into play as well. A beta launch is just like a little practice run. It can be as big or as small as you want it to be, but typically you open up your course for a small number of people at a reduced price so that they can give it a try. You can see, like, to make sure everything's working properly, see where any gaps are. And then you can collect generally the exchanges. You got this reduced price because you're going to give me a testimonial, video testimonial, whatever it is. And so that's a really good idea to do ahead of time. I mean, you don't have to launch your course before you start sending it out if you want to do like little beta launch. And it gives you a really good practice round before you get into the big, big scary live launch.
Well, also like say, like I heard you, I think we've talked about this before, Verity, is that people will ask you like, well, why aren't people liking my course? Doing those beta rounds, you find that information of like people liked if you would offer this in there, or if you did this differently. So not only do you get that social proof, it's not as big of a launch, so it might feel less pressure, but you also have an opportunity to make those changes in your course and in your launch to improve it for the next.
Absolutely. I love what you were saying about testimonials, because that just comes into your copy so much and on your landing pages. And it's so true. How often have you, we think of Amazon, for example, if you're anything like me, nearly 90% of what comes through the door is from Amazon, it feels. But what's the first thing we do? We look at the product and then we go straight to the bottom of the page and we see how many stars it's got. And if it's got less than 5 stars, we're reading those reviews and we want to know exactly where those stars have dropped off. And it's the social proof that sells the product on Amazon more, because I don't know about you, but I can't tell you the last time I read an item description on Amazon. I look at the picture and then I look at what the reviews are, and it's so true. We need that social proof in our copy. So then I think that leads us on really nicely to the other thing that I wanted to pick your brains about for this episode is, what tips do you have for our lovely listeners who are thinking of putting their own copy together for their landing page? Have you got any kind of key tips that people can DIY their landing page copy themselves?
Yes, absolutely. The most important thing that your copy, that anything you're using to market anything, is you need to help your clients go from not having any clue who you are to knowing that they want what you have to offer. Sounds really simple, but that's what your pre-launch copy and your marketing is all about. It's saying, hey, this is a problem that you've been experiencing. Here's a solution. And getting people already thinking, okay, I need this solution, before you even start to say, and guess what? I have that solution here for you. So you want people to have already like made up their mind that this is the right decision before you tell them that you have what they need. So you want to address those pain points. You want to indicate what the problem is. Why does someone want to take this course? Why would someone want to take a crochet course, to use one of your favorite examples?
Oh, my crochet example.
But like, why would someone want to take that, and who would want to take that? Is it a course for beginners? Is it a course for people who want to improve their skills? Is it a course for people who want to set up an Etsy shop? Whatever their reason, you need to know what their motivation is. And then you have to show them the end result. So this is you right now, and this is what you're going to look like afterwards. This is your transformation statement. And you have to walk them through that in everything, in your social media, in your email, in your sales page. You've got to walk them through, here's where you are, and here's what you will be, and this is that missing piece in the middle. And people don't really care how many videos are in your course or how many downloads or whatever. They don't care what they're going to get. They care what they're going to be like at the end of it. How, like, it's basically the why should I care question.
Yeah, people are very tied to an emotional response to something. And when they're reading your copy, if that evokes a feeling within them that's like, I need that, like it drives their motivation, then they're more likely to buy your course. Because if they see, like, it's really just identifying who your ideal client is. And like Hannah said, like knowing all those things and the transformation that they're going to have. As soon as someone feels like my life can be better, and you know, like the problems I'm faced, you're identifying the problem that I haven't even really admitted to, then they're going to make that sale.
It's less about the how and the what, and more about the who and the why.
Yeah.
So I think that's in the back of your head whenever you're writing any kind of copy to promote your course, your product, or anything, is to just think, why should my audience member care? What's in it for them? And then if you can come up with a satisfactory answer to that, then you've got good copy.
I love that so much. There is so much value in that last 10 minutes. Absolutely. So what I would love to ask you now then is, what is the key takeaway that you would love our listeners to take away from this episode?
Can we do two? Can we do
go for it. You can do two. I can see you both want to do two, so go for it.
I'll let you go first, Nicole.
A key takeaway is, I would say, really being, oh goodness, now I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, fine.
Sorry.
Know your audience. Know who this product is for, what they want, like where they are right now, where they want to be, and how it's going to change their lives. Like, you really have to have a really clear understanding of why this person would want to take this, and be as specific as you can. I like to use the example of that episode of Friends where Joey tries to eat a whole turkey, and he borrows Phoebe's maternity pants because they're stretchy, right? And he was like, oh, those are my maternity pants. And he's like, no, they're my turkey eating pants. The people who made those maternity pants shouldn't factor Joey's into their marketing plan. He is an exception, and the Joeys will always find you if they want to. Mm-hmm. But they should focus on the Phoebes, the pregnant women who need the stretchy pants. And it's the same for all your marketing, is focus on the Phoebes. The Joeys will find you if they want to.
I love that so much.
And to jump off of that point, because knowing your ideal client and marketing to them is so important, but not cutting corners. So really, you might think that, doing it this way might save you time now, but put in the time to do your marketing for your ideal client, because that will pay off in the end. Yeah. The only person that you are hurting is yourself if you just don't put in the time.
Yeah. And I guess that's, be patient. It's another take, but be patient, because it takes time. There's no fast way to launch. You have to take the time to build that audience, to build that awareness, and before you can properly sell something.
Absolutely. It goes back to a quote that I actually read online the other day, which was something, I'm going to butcher this, but it was something to the adage of every overnight success takes years to create. And you're like, that is so true. So I think those are wonderful takeaways. So thank you so much. Where can our listeners find out more about you guys if they want to connect with you?
Well, you can find us if you want to listen to one of or watch our podcasts. We also have a YouTube channel at Showing Up Solo. You can check out our website, showingupsolo.com.
We're on Instagram as Showing Up Solo. Mm-hmm. We're kind of everywhere with Showing Up Solo.
Pinterest, LinkedIn, YouTube.
Yeah.
I love that you're everywhere, and we'll have all of your links in the show notes anyway, so people can connect with you as much as on every platform there. But thank you so much for your time today. It has been absolutely fantastic. I've loved having you guys here.
Thank you so
thanks
much
for having us.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the Confident CEO podcast. Before you go, I would absolutely be overjoyed if you could take just 2 minutes to leave me a review in Apple Podcasts. Reviews are a great way to tell Apple Podcasts how much you enjoyed the show, and it helps the algorithm to push out the podcast to more people, thereby helping us to help empower even more badass businesswomen to grow their inner CEO and grow to be the confident CEO of their business that they can be. I love to shout you out in your reviews as well. So you never know, you might be hearing your name on the podcast in the next episode. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.